Hi, I'm Susan Cotton, the teacher author behind Miss Cotton's Corner. Thank you for joining me again today for the next installment in our series, 30 Days, 10 Minutes to a More Literate Classroom. Today's day 2, and we are going to be diving into book talks. So the first thing you're probably asking is, well, what is a book talk? A book talk is any time when one reader tries to convince another reader to read a book. So you have probably been doing book talks. Maybe you know it and maybe you don't. Book talks are every time you call up your teacher bestie and say, oh my gosh, I just read the best professional book ever. You have got to get it. Or you grab a kid and say, come on, let's go to the book nook. I've got this book you've got to see. Anytime you're trying to convince another reader to read a book, that's a book talk. So book talks have been around forever, right? As long as there have been libraries, librarians have been trying to convince people to read books. But they first started coming into education as kind of a formal thing in about the 50s. And the term book talk, as far as I know, was coined in the 80s. Why do you think teachers are glomming onto this? What is the research behind it? It's kind of actually mixed. There is some research that suggests that book talks are good at motivating readers, and some research that suggests it has no effect whatsoever. But what is really clear from the research is book talks are excellent at one thing, and that is convincing another reader to read a book. I've been doing book talks for years and years. I've done them with every grade K-5, and I can tell you from my experience, when I do a book talk, that book flies off the shelf. And the way that I do book talks also connects readers. So this is a selling books strategy. Remember, that's one of our themes. We're going to sell books. This is a channel your inner gizmo knife guy moment, but it is also a connecting readers strategy. So here is how I do book talks. First, I try to always read the book. Once in a great while, I haven't read the book. But the majority of times I do a book talk, it's because I really loved something about the book, and I can't wait to share it with my readers. Once I've found a book that I really love and I want to share, I spend a few minutes looking at the book and thinking about, what is it that I love about the book? Is it the quirky character? Is it the sense of excitement and danger? Is it the thrill of good versus evil? What is it that drew me into that book? And what is an excerpt from that book that really expresses that? So preparing for a book talk, first you have to read the book. So that takes however long it takes you to read the book. Could be an hour. If it's a longer book, could be several days, right? Once you've read the book, preparing for a book talk probably takes 10 to 15 minutes because you're going to thumb through it, you're going to think about it, you're going to bookmark a page or two that you want to read to your kids. It takes around 5 to 7 minutes of class time. So once I've prepared the book, once I'm ready and I know what I'm going to be talking to my kids about, all I need for the book talk is the book, a sticky note, and a pen. Some people go really big. They prepare a PowerPoint, they have a digital version, they do a video, whatever. You don't have to do that. Some people go with props and they really go, like interact and be one of the characters. Fine, you don't have to do that. In my experience, when I put that much pressure on myself to do a book talk, I just don't get to them. And the real power in a book talk, as far as I can tell, is in consistency. When I do book talks every day, yes, every day, that's when the power really strikes. Because not only am I selling that book, not only am I connecting readers around that book, but kids start to look forward to the book talks, and I'm getting books into kids' hands, and then continually the process just kind of feeds itself, and then kids are doing book talks both informally and formally, and the process just really picks up speed and feeds itself. And that's, to me, that's when the motivation to read really kicks in. So every day, commit to doing book talks every day. Give yourself 7 minutes. It's really, really worth it. You may be saying to yourself, this is a lot. How am I going to read that many books? I get it. About 15 years ago, because before I had kids, I love thinking about how old I am, I started putting together one-pagers. And my best one-pagers are up on TPT. You can get them and they will help you do a book talk for a book you haven't read. So go ahead and check those out if those are useful. And the other thing is, right now, I'm going to show you 2 book talks that I actually did with my students. One is for Loser from Jerry Spinelli, a book that I have read many, many times and love enormously. The other is for a book called Evil Things that I have never read, but I want to read it. And I share that with my students. So take a look at these 2 book talks, and then we'll meet back here to debrief. Today, I want to book talk this book, Loser by Jerry Spinelli. Jerry Spinelli, as you know, is one of my favorite authors, and Loser is one of my top 2 favorite books of all time. This is a really great book. So, have you ever noticed that some kids just don't fit in? They just are different. Maybe you've been that kid. Maybe there's a time or a place where you didn't fit in. Well, that is Donald Zinkoff, the main character in this book. The book starts when Donald is just ready to enter school, and it goes through all his elementary years and into middle school. And he does not fit in anywhere. He is no good at sports. He is terrible at school, gets mediocre to bad grades. He's really uncool. Teachers do not get him. Kids don't get him. Nobody gets Zinkoff. And through it all, he is enthusiastic and funny and cheerful, and he doesn't seem to even notice that he doesn't have friends. Have you ever known a kid like that who just kind of floats through life unaware of other people? Excepting that Zinkoff really cares deeply for people. So he does love them. He just doesn't seem to notice that they might not love him in return. Today, I want to read to you an excerpt from the middle of this book, right at the end of Zinkoff's elementary school years. It's a pivotal moment in the novel. It's a moment when things really start to change and become kind of clear for the reader. So I'm going to read to you the beginning of chapter 17. The chapter is called What the Clocks Say. At Sutterfield Elementary, you can't go any higher than 5th grade. So 5th graders rule the school. When other students look at you, most of what they see is bigger and better. You know more, you eat more, you draw better, you sing better, you throw farther and run faster. You go to the head of the line. You drink longest at the water fountains. You even talk and laugh harder. If you've made it through the first 4 grades, 5th grade is your reward, the payoff. And it comes in ways that aren't even visible. It comes as a feeling whenever you're in the presence of kids from the lower grades. A feeling even though nobody says it, that you are the most important. 5th grade is a great time to be alive. All of this greets Zinkoff when he returns to school, and he loves it. He loves being a 5th grader. Something else is there too. It has been growing through the summer after taking root in the yellow dust of the playground. It has invaded the school building and multiplied abundantly. As Zinkoff's classmates return in September, many of them pick it up along with their new pencils and other school supplies. Rarely does anyone say, "It is the word." It is the word. It is Zinkoff's new name. It is not in the rule book. Rarely does anyone say his new name to his face, but it is often said behind a giggle or a cough. It comes from here, from there. Zinkoff sometimes senses someone being called, but the sound of it is not the sound of his name as he knows it. So he does not turn. And then one day, for no good reason, hearing the name, he does turn. But no one is looking at him, so he thinks he must be mistaken. And the voices continue, and again, he turns. And again. But no one is ever looking. No one ever seems to have spoken. It is as if the voices are coming from the walls and the clocks and the lights in the ceiling. Loser. The discovery and renaming of Zinkoff is a great convenience to the student body. Zinkoff has been tagged and bagged, and now virtually everything he does can be dumped into the same sack. His sloppy handwriting and artwork, his hapless fluting, his mediocre grades, his clumsiness, his birthmark, everything is seen as an extension of his performance on field day. Everything is seen as a matter of losing. It is as if he loses 100 races every day. As you can tell, Jerry Spinelli does his usual marvelous job of writing about characters in this book. This is a great book for you if you like quirky characters, because Zinkoff is one of the quirkiest, 100%. This is also a great book for you if you like to laugh out loud. Even though the part I read wasn't funny, there are some great moments in here, like when he faces the furnace monster. So funny. This book is also a good one for you if you enjoyed some of Jerry Spinelli's other books, like Third Grade Angels, Fourth Grade Rats, and Maniac Mindy. Other authors that I think are kind of similar to this book would be Gordon Corman and his books like Ungifted, and another author would be Andrew Clements, who wrote Brindle. If those are books that you've enjoyed, this is a great book for you. So, who wants to read Loser? So today, I want to book talk this book that I just got. It got delivered to my house yesterday. So, you probably have guessed, I haven't even read it. But I thought it was so cool and such a perfect match for some of you that I'm not even going to read it first. I'm going to let you guys do that. So this book is called Evil Thing, a tale of that DeVille woman. And I'll tell you why I bought it. First of all, the cover art, right? Don't you think that's pretty fascinating cover art? So that just really caught my eye when I was doing some book shopping. And then I just also read the blurb and the first couple pages, and I thought, I have some readers in my class that need this book. So here's the blurb. Ah, puppies. But we'll get to that part of the story soon enough. You may think you know the tale. A happy young couple, 2 loyal dogs, a litter of 15 perfectly spotted puppies, and the woman determined to turn them into a perfectly spotted fur coat. So determined that she stole every Dalmatian puppy in London, bringing the total of dogs to exactly 101. But who is that monster? That scene stealer? That evil thing? Who is the woman behind it all? Before the car crashed, before the dog napping, before furs became her only true love, there was another story. This is the story of Cruella de Vil in her own words. Even the cruelest villains have best friends, true loves, and daring dreams. After all, nothing is as simple as black and white. The newest novel in Serena Valentino's darkly fascinating villain series brings readers a tale told by that evil thing herself. A tale of friendship, love, and loss, mothers and daughters. You see why that hooks me? I know a lot of us have loved fairy tales forever and always, and lots of you probably loved the movie 101 Dalmatians. But you're old enough now to start realizing that real world, it's not so simple. It's not just good and evil. It's a bit more complicated, and I have a feeling that taking the other perspective and taking the other side of the story is going to be really interesting to some of you. I'm just going to read a very littlest bit from the beginning of the book because I want you to hear the voice of Cruella de Vil and hear how it sounds in my head the best that I can. All right, chapter 1 is called Cruella de Vil. I suppose that I could start my story here in Hell Hall, where all my marvelous plans were born from the darkness. But I'd rather start from the beginning, or at least close enough to give you an idea of what makes me tick. Sure, you know the story of those puppies, those wretched Dalmatians and their insipid owners, Roger and Anita. And I'm sure you even rooted for them to evade me. Me, that monster, that devil woman in a fur coat. But don't I deserve a chance to tell my own side of the story, the real story? It is fabulous after all. Behold, the story of me, Cruella de Vil. Tick-tock, darlings, we're going back in time to when I was a young girl of 11, living in my family's mansion. So prepare yourselves, dears. You're in for a wild ride. Oh my gosh. Maybe I'll just keep this one for myself. Oh, okay. Who's ready to read Evil Thing? So I hope watching me do those 2 book talks helped you get a sense of how it will look in your own classroom. Please notice each one of those are just about 5 minutes. I did have to edit a few minutes off the end where the kids are raising their hand and shouting out and I'm saying their names just for privacy's sake. But my kids were super gracious and let me put the camera right in front of them when I did those book talks. I'm always grateful when my kids go along with stuff. I hope you noticed that I didn't give away the surprise in any of those book talks. When you take a look at my book talk resources on Teachers Pay Teachers, you'll notice that I do tell you the surprise. For example, when I talk about loser, I say the essential question at the end is Zinkoff really a loser? Because he has spent an entire night searching for a lost girl in the snow. That is a spoiler, for sure and for certain. If you know that he's going to spend all night looking for Claudia, you don't get to experience the tension that Spinelli builds when he writes that part of the book. So don't tell kids that. I just put that in there because you as a teacher need to know that part, but you would never share that with kids in a book talk. When you're doing a book talk, you're really building excitement. That means a book talk is not and never should be graded, should not be a summary or a retelling of everything you know about the book. It should not be something that's a formal presentation where you stop everything you do and for 3 days you have kids present. But of course, you probably guessed that in the best years, when it works out right in my classroom, I start the year doing a book talk every day, but by the end of the year, I'm hardly doing any of the book talks. The kids are doing them. If you want to know more about how to make that happen, I have put together this little ebook about how I do book talks, and you can download this for free on TPT. So I totally encourage you to click the link and hop over to this. It'll explain a little bit more about how I do book talks. It also has a link in there to a video by Donalyn Miller, who is the queen of book talks. If you have never heard Donalyn Miller speak about book talks, this 7-minute video is amazing. And she's such a guru. I just love what she does, and she's so inspiring. So I hope this video and the ebook on TPT help you get started with your own journey towards book talks. Remember, 7 minutes a day is all it takes. Find the time. It's really, really worth it. Thanks for watching and happy teaching.